All right, mate. How's it going?
No, but it's kind of funny that we've just started recording and Joe's just handed me this parcel. People can't see it,
It's a
obviously, because
it's a DHL box. Is that
it's a
international
DHL
shipping?
box, and it's got on it to Nicholas and Mitch, and it's whiskey box in size. So
Oh
I'm just
fuck!
I'm opening it right now, mate, and seeing what you could have had if you lived in Scotland and didn't live in the US.
I think we need to clarify to our listeners and to the brands out there. Mitch and I don't live together.
It's from our friends at Kingsbarns, mate. Oh, that's nice. Oh, look, a couple of whiskies from Kingsbarns. Thanks, Kingsbarns. There you go. Look,
Oh, those look lovely. Look
that's
at
their
that.
new Falkirk and Bell Rock. You can have a dram. Oh no, you can't have a dram of that. Sorry, Nicholas. I'll just enjoy that myself. All right, so here we are. Another episode, another day. Welcome all our listeners. Amazing to have you along for this journey.
Whoa. Who taught you how to speak? Welcome all our listeners. Wise you are, young Jedi, whiskey Jedi.
Been having issues with talking recently. It must be an old age thing.
I think it's because people keep sending you bottles of whiskey.
So, I mean, we were literally going to jump on a call and talk about plans for the podcast for next year, but we thought, fuck it, we might as well record another episode as well. So this is just one of our catch-up episodes where we're going to just shoot some shit, I suppose, and talk about some news, because there's a little bit happening in the whiskey world.
Just when you thought that we were like putting a lot of time, dedication, and planning into our chat, it's like, oh, well, we're going to come on for this, but we just decided to hit the record button instead.
Yeah, so I sat down with our friends at Harris Distillers today, Calum and Blair, and we went through everything to do with Hearach. So we're going to drop that episode, that interview in just a second. But we thought we'd just do a little catch up first, mate. So how's Vegas?
I have not been to Las Vegas. I'm currently in New Jersey. I'm heading into New York City tonight. Actually, fun enough to meet a mutual friend of ours, Mr. John Laurie, from Glenturret. So the managing director of Glenturret is in town and kindly invited me. Oh, fancy. And I'm heading to Keen's Steakhouse, which is one of my favorite steakhouses. Have you been to Keen's before?
Yeah, I have, mate. I have.
Yeah, so
it's a nice spot.
Yeah, it is a nice spot. So I'm heading there tonight to go and drink quite a bit of whiskey. We have a charity fundraiser dinner that we're attending, and wait, you hear, Mitch? This is the dinner, and then there's an after party. At the dinner, it's a 16-course whiskey pairing.
That's crazy. Can I just tell everyone how you got an invite for this? So last night, I get a message on our Instagram page saying, "Hey, Mitch, it was John messaging the two of us on our Not Another Whiskey Podcast Instagram page. If you're not following now, please do. Just saying that, I'm in town. I know Nicholas doesn't get any drams. I'm in New York, wondering if he wants to come along to this event." So I replied, I was like, "Hey, man, here's his number. Maybe WhatsApp him, because he hasn't got a clue about fucking social media and how it works." So that was good. You managed to connect with you, mate.
We did
That's
connect.
cool.
And out of that, so of all the hardship of me not getting drams, now I'm getting 16 drams at dinner, followed by after party drams at the Carnegie Club with cigars, which I don't think I'm going to attend, to be honest with you, because being frank, 16 drams is, I don't even know, is that legal to drink 16 whiskeys at one dinner? to be fair, I want to preface this by saying that John is a guest. He's not putting this down. This is not his dinner. This is a charity dinner that we're both just attending. But it's kind of funny for us to meet up and go into New York City and go and drink 16 drams together in one fell swoop. So I'm looking forward to my Uber ride home. Either that or I'll be getting a hotel in New York City and staying the night. So I'm looking forward to that. As for travel for me right now, I'm actually, funny enough, I've got a little bit of travel. I'm heading to Michigan in a couple of weeks. We've got Thanksgiving coming up here. And on the 23rd of November, Thanksgiving. So turkey.
I like Thanksgiving. I really miss Thanksgiving. I like the way it was like that little holiday just before the big holidays.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It gives you like a month to prep for Christmas. And then after Thanksgiving, I'm heading to Arizona. So that will be my last trip, I think, of the year.
Nice,
just doing a little bit of stuff. I might have to do a day or two in Texas, but it'll literally just be same for Michigan. I'm flying in and out to Detroit for a day, and I'll fly in and out of Dallas, maybe Fort Worth, go and see some of my friends down in Fort Worth there. Put on my cowboy boots. And do you know what I was thinking? You always tease me for doing my I always end up sounding, no matter what type of American accent I do, I always end up eventually sounding like Bill Clinton. I swear to God, Mitch, I did not have sexual relations with that girl. Now pass me a cigar.
Well, I don't know, man. You did always change it around to whatever state you're in. That was pretty
just
funny.
For fun. You used to do it at the end of all the whiskey tastings, because then people would be like, wait a minute, I thought he was from Scotland that whole time.
I was just thinking, going back to the Thanksgiving thing, did we not come around to yours for Thanksgiving once, and you and Carrie were dressed up in like French outfits with French music playing?
Yep.
Yeah, you kind of missed the memo.
I don't know if that was Thanksgiving. I think that was just, we were doing a French day for fun. So we did crepes. Yeah, we brought the Eiffel Tower and dressed in it.
you'd penciled in a little moustache. Oh, oui, c'est bon. Anyway, back to business.
Indeed.
That's been good. What have I been up to? I have just come back from some serious travel. We had a load of guys from San Francisco over with Wayne Grant and Son, so that was fun. So I was hosting them up at Glenfiddich, Balvenie, Hendricks. We went over to Ireland. We did Tullamore Dew, hung out with our old friend John Quinn, went out in Dublin, drunk a load of Guinness, drunk a load of Tullamore Dew. Yeah, so I've been recovering all this week. It's been like early to bed, chill out, no drinking, just because that was a pretty wild 8 days, I think I was with them.
Wow.
Yeah. So shout out to my San Francisco crew that were just over here. Great guys as well, man. You'd have loved them. All from like really high end. We're talking big bars over in San Francisco, the likes of Trip Dog, the Treasury, all those kind of places. So really cool people. We had a lot of fun together. So that was great.
Nice.
But yeah, apart from that, man, it's been all go at HQ Copper Cairn. We're getting ready as we put this out, we'll have done the Whiskey Talks events. There's been a lot of prep going on for that behind the scenes. So yeah, we'll have dropped that and we'll have done that, because that's, as we record this, that's on Tuesday coming up.
When's the Copper Cairn merch box arriving? I need my hoodie and my t-shirt.
Same time as your whiskey, mate. All right. Well, listen, like I said earlier, I sat down with our good friends at Harris Distillers and we talked about Hearach, their new expression. So we're going to drop this episode in. This is how it all went down. Well, chaps, welcome to the show. Great to have you both here. Blair, we go way back. I was thinking today, 2005, 2006 are the Azure days.
Oh, it's mental. It just shows how nice and not how small a whiskey community is, but how nice it is that everybody then still keeps in touch and can pick up as well, which is good. So
yeah, it's crazy. Right, chaps. Well, let's get straight into it. You've just released Hearach. I'm pronouncing that right? I know there's like a load of. I think that's the big thing we want to get from today is how you actually pronounce your release. Did I pronounce it right there?
Not far off, to be honest. So the Hearach. So get a good at the end of it that you're there.
Hearach. So. Okay.
That's the one.
The bottle does look absolutely stunning. Amazing work on that. Great juice. I'm actually sipping some right now because you guys did send me a little sample. You didn't send Nicholas any, but hey, you sent some to the most important guys. That doesn't matter. But we're gonna get on to the liquid in just a second. But my first question, and I think the burning question of all our listeners, is why did it take you guys so long to get this out? I mean, the distillery came around 2015, I think it was. Is that right?
Yep. It sounds quite cliche, but waiting for the liquid to be exactly how we wanted it to be. I mean, you only get one chance to launch for your first inaugural launch. And I think going back to this, I can't remember their names, but we've worked with consultants, the Three Wise Men. I can't remember their full names, but there's a multitude of different recipes. I remember when they took us through a tasting. So the Hearach, which you're now tasting, is recipe 53 of everything they tried to get it right. So they were obsessed with it being the best that it possibly could be. And I think that's probably why it took us so long.
the Three Wise Men. I mean, you've probably come across the name Gordon Steele in the whiskey world. So he's been in since the very beginning. He's sort of the brains behind the theory of our dram, and then to implement that, we've got Kenny Gray, who's got, I mean, combined, I think they said they had over 100 years of experience, and sort of Stuart, who follows in his footsteps. But like Blair, unfortunately, I can't actually remember Stuart's surname, but Kenny Gray and Stuart have been around for a long time, and their presence at the distillery is well noted. They've had an incredibly positive impact on what we have released and our final product. So this whiskey is very much well, as close as we could get to a representation of our island in liquid form, and certainly in whiskey form. So that's real focus is mainly down to their leadership or their stewardship over the last few years.
I want to come back to the whiskey in just a second, but I want to talk about the distillery first and what you guys have over there. I mean, I was fortunate enough to go to the distillery. I think it was 2021. Absolutely incredible, not just for the location, which is stunning, but the entire design of the distillery, you know, the production, the visitors center aspect of it is so well thought out. You know, at the time we went and we had a taste of the new make spirit. Obviously, Harris Gin is huge for you guys, so that was a big focus within the center there, which I imagine will have changed now. But you know, for our listeners who haven't been there, can you paint a picture for them as to what to expect when they actually visit there?
Well, I mean, like a lot of people, I suppose my take of sort of the Western Isles is slightly different to others. My mother's from there, so I kind of had a bit of an insight before going up to Harris. But the distillery itself, it was built on an area of reclaimed land, which the local authority reclaimed a number of years before the distillery was built. But it kind of just became a car park for local people in Tarbert. And then when we were looking where to build the distillery, it was kind of staring at us right in the face. This centerpiece, if you like, as you're sailing in from Uig, from Skye, the very first thing you pretty much see of Tarbert is our distillery, and those sort of infamous black and white letterings of Isle of Harris Distillery. I think the thinking behind it, so all of this stemmed from a chap called Burr, Anderson Bakewell. So he is originally American, first came over to Harris, so we fell in love with the island, and he came back for a number of years and noticed every time he was coming back, there was more and more people leaving the island. Now, a lot of that was driven due to traditional industries kind of disappearing, such as fishing. Crofting was really taking a hit, and it was difficult, particularly for young people, to find careers on the island. So it's really down to Burr as to why the distillery exists today, and we were built to create employment opportunities in Harris. And that is absolutely at the focal point of the distillery. So we are the social distillery. We intend to be here for hundreds of years, not just a few decades. We want to emulate that of, you know, our pals who are down in Islay or up in Orkney, island-based distilleries who are around for centuries, not for decades. And that really is at the heart of it. And the distillery design, you touched on it there, Mitch. We didn't want something that was going to be garish and stick out, and not be something that looked like it was from the island. So even the sort of design of the building is in keeping with the local architecture around the area, and try not to be, you know, too much of a sort of sore point on the horizon. We want to blend in with Tarbert, we want to blend in with the island, and we wanted our distillery to feel like it's been there for centuries already. And yeah, we're delighted to say that, you know, we opened our doors, as you say, way back in 2015. We had 10 members of full-time staff, and today we're just shy of 50. So it shows you the development of the distillery since 2015.
I think going back to your question as well, the first thing that hit me when I went to the distillery for the first time is when you walk in, it doesn't massively feel like a distillery, first of all. It feels very opening and welcoming, and like somebody's front room, as if you're going into their house and meeting them for the first time. You're met with a coal fire, you're met with Harris tweed chairs that are round about, and it just makes you feel instantly relaxed when you walk in the front door.
No, that was definitely the case with us when we went there. I actually remember as well, we walked away. You guys gave us like 2 bottles of Harris gin as well. We were like, oh, we're going to go back to the house. Oh, here's some gin for you. I'm like, oh, fine, thank you very much. So, but I want to chat as well about the history of distilling on the island. One thing that I was digging into when I was looking at Harris was this is the first whiskey made since the clearances of 1840. So legally, this is the first whiskey made there. I'm assuming there's a little bit of illegal stuff that's been going on since. But can you talk about the sort of history of whiskey making on Harris?
I mean, I'm no expert myself, but from the stories that have been told and passed through the sort of generations, Pappy, the Isle of Pappy, was a well-known island for illicit distilling, so to speak, and the family there were, I believe they were Morrisons, but I'll have to double check that, so please don't quote me on it. But they were quite notorious for distilling there. And there were sort of pockets of illegal distillation happening. But I think it would be also quite important to note that, trying to grow particularly barley and Harris is very, very difficult. It is not an island that is particularly conducive to growing that sort of crop. And indeed, even when you do get all the conditions right, if the geese come along and spot it, you're scunnered. They're going to hoover that up pretty quick, as we've discovered ourselves. So yeah, it's sort of whispers in the wind more than anything that's been properly documented. And actually, Mitch, you raise a great point, because it's definitely something that is of interest to us, and we're wanting to explore it further. But as far as we're aware, certainly on the scale that we're producing, we are the first legal distillery in Harris.
Cool. All right then, boys. Well, elevator pitch on production. What are you guys doing at Harris? What's making you guys a little bit different? Run us through the whole process.
Sunday, as you would imagine, on the island is very important. It is still a day where it is for family, it is for religion. So because of that, we really have changes in terms of our fermentation types and what we have, and how long we do it as well. So we have quite a long fermentation. So 40% medium of 70 hours, and then we have a long fermentation of 120 hours. And that just really depends, because nobody works on a Sunday. So it just depends on where we're fermenting and when it's going to be for everybody being off on a Sunday. So that gives us a cut point. And it's different from different distilleries, as the cut point is done by nose. So it's not done by any computers. It's done purely by the distiller's nose and taste to when they want to cut it. So it is quite a manual and intense process as well. So I think that really gives us a point of difference as well, because it can give you slight variations between different batches and different maturations as well. But it's nice that everything is done a lot more by hand than it is by computers as well, which is quite good. We've also got quite a young distilling team as well, which then carries on from the process what Calum was saying about the island as well. So I think we've got Norman Ian, who's one of our original distillers, who's probably, you won't mind me saying, will be the oldest there. But apart from that, I think we've got an average age of 25 in terms of our distillers. So they've joined, come back to the island, maybe from going away from university, learned their trade, and hope to have careers with the distillery moving forward as well, which is a really nice story.
Of those distillers, one in particular, she's going to hate me for saying this, but young Rebecca Morrison, she joined us as our first ever apprentice distiller. She was 17 when she joined, so she was too young to actually consume the product that she was making legally. But she's now pretty much heads up the day-to-day runnings, I think, whilst Norman Ian has he's kind of become a bit of almost like a brand ambassador himself. He was off in Paris recently, which was quite amazing. He was getting to do Whiskey Live out there, and he did note at our launch that on that day he realised he was old enough to be the father of pretty much every single other distiller. So it does show you the age range within our team there.
Let's get on to the whiskey, lads. So, I mean, like I said, looks stunning. I love the way it's just been blown up. Everyone's been going absolutely crazy about it. I was just on your website before we started doing this interview, and I see everything is now sold out online. I'm assuming that's the case up at the distillery and most shops as well now. But I've actually got a little dram in front of me, and when you guys sent me this, it was interesting to see you're looking at first full ex bourbon casks, Oloroso, and Fino sherry butts. So lightly peated, 12 to 15 parts per million here, 46% ABV, no chill filtration, and natural color. No age statement on this as well.
85% of it's first of all bourbon from Heaven Hill and Buffalo Trace. We do have some Woodford Reserve casks that the initial plan was to involve them in as well, but because they're washed that extra time, we just felt the flavour profile wasn't exactly where we wanted for our first release. So Woodford Reserve casks will be introduced into the Hearach probably from 2025, maybe 2026. We then have 11% Oloroso, Spanish oak butts, and then 4% phenol, which just really marries everything together. So looking at the batch system has probably caused a little bit of confusion from people as well. I mean, the batch system, we launched batches 1 to 8 online and on our distillery on launch day. And the batch system is really just the marrying time of what's happened. So we marry it together for a minimum of 12 weeks. And because of the size of the marrying tank, that's why we have the different batches. So there is really not much difference between the batches. I think it's just a number. I think because of the time that it took us to bottle it, different again, the change parts didn't arrive in time for us to actually be able to put these through the run. So every single bottle of the Hearach was hand-filled, hand-labelled and hand-corked, which was a very long, intensive period. And because of that, probably as you go up the batches, if you look at batches 7 and 8, you're probably looking at marrying time of maybe 18 to 20 weeks instead of 12, 13 for batches 1 and 2. So that's the only real difference between the batches as well.
Taste notes, it's, like we said, 12 to 15 parts per million. So there's that faint, I'd say, hint of smoke. It's almost like you're like there's a lot of fires going on around here where I live, and you walk outside, sometimes someone's got their chimney going and it's just there in the background, but it's not very dominant. Definitely that punch of vanilla I'm getting through. Maybe a little bit of ginger on the nose. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it really changes. I think on the smell, for me, I get marzipan, you get real sweetness, you get the vanilla and the butterscotch you would get from bourbon. But I think generally as I taste it, I get different flavours coming through all the time. Gingerbread is definitely one of them as well. And I think really just, for me, Fino is not, I've not drank a lot of Fino matured whiskey stock, but for me, it just really kind of rounds everything and brings everything together, I think, which really helps it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the palate, I'm getting like a nice sort of nuttiness, almost like a creaminess going on, which I really enjoy in whiskies, actually. So that's a good thing for me. But yeah, I mean, it's really bright. You get that smokiness coming through, but it's not really punchy. It's not like a, Isla full-on smoke. It's just a gentle smoke. What's next for Isle of Harris? What you guys got in the pipeline? Anything you can share? When's the next release coming out?
So next release will be around spring next year. So there will be a multitude of different batches next year as well. I think we just need to work on the final number of what it's going to be. But batch 9, 10, 11, 12, potentially 13 will be available from probably March, April next year. We are looking at some limited editions as well. So I think we're just waiting on the Three Wise Men and the blending team to sign off the liquid. But hopefully we will have a limited edition fully matured and first full Oloroso next year as well, which should be good. And we've been holding back stock as well. So we're holding back stock so that we can then have some named age ranges going forward as well. So there's very much a lot of different things happening. The Hearach will always be our core brand. The idea is there'll be limited editions, but we're open to trying new things and looking at things as well. So it's very much the case of wait and see. We don't know exactly the plan of what it's going to be. We know the Hearach will be the core product, but there definitely will be limited editions each year as well.
Our issue at the minute is a supply and demand one in the right way. So the demand is exceptionally high at the minute, which is wonderful. And we are trying to match that with supply. But if we are able to, we're going to try and host as many sort of tastings and opportunities to try the liquid as possible. So just keep an eye on our social media pages as to when they might be taking place. And hopefully as well, as we sort of, Blair mentioned our plans for next year as we roll out more stock.
Well, Blair, Calum, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being on the show. I look forward to see you in person at some point soon, hopefully, gents, and take it easy.
Thank you, and speak to you soon.
Mitch, that was an absolutely baller interview. Seems like those guys are really doing a lot of really fun and exciting stuff. I'm excited to taste the whiskey. I have heard on the grapevine, in fact, I just got an email after your interview with him today that they are sending me a bottle of whiskey. Hurrah!
Ooh, score!
Hurrah!
Score for Nicholas.
Well played, Harris, oh boy. Like, and by the way, everyone else take note.
No, thanks to Blair for that, and great to catch up with him. You know, like I said, I haven't seen Blair since our Diageo days back in 2006. So great to see him doing well there. And yeah, I mean, fabulous whiskey. Again, a great example of a new distillery coming online and just doing everything right over here.
Yeah.
So fantastic to see. We've got a lot of distilleries to visit when you get your ass over to Scotland, mate.
I have to say, on Harris's stuff, like, see their packaging team, well done, well played, just elegant, well designed, thought out. Really, really excited to taste some of the liquid. But from a packaging standpoint, man, I've got envy of your team. They do a really wonderful job. So congratulations.
So on to the news. Quite a bit going on in the news. The first bit of news that we came across, which was an interesting one, is the Advertising Standards Agency has put standards, basically, or an enforcement notice on whiskey cask investment companies, laying out new terms by which their advertisements must abide to ensure customers are not misled. Now, I don't think this has anything to do with our episode.
I think
Nicholas.
It's absolutely something to do with our episode, because we've already been told that our episode was shared directly with the team at advertising.
I don't think it is, but I'd like to think that it was a small part of,
it was a team effort. There's a lot
what's been going on.
Out.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, and what's been going on. And, you know, the Cask Whisky Association as well. Hopefully they're pushing things forward, and they've pushed something through here. And it's great to see this going on. So just to give you guys an idea on what's happening here, they basically said that they have to put statements on their adverts that make it clear that the risks are inherent within whiskey investment. So as in the value can go up or down. They can't guarantee returns anymore. And also their ads must prominently feature material information that which a consumer needs to make an informed decision on to purchase. So this is kind of great news. And I think the other big thing that I picked from this is that they also have to stress the need for whiskey cask investment companies to be socially responsible, ensuring their ads do not irresponsibly take advantage of customers' lack of experience or credentiality.
For example, telling people you're knighted. And as the Viscount of Dumbarton, I want to stress how important it is to make sure that you don't just walk around giving yourself a fake title.
So this all comes to play into play on the 2nd of January 2024. So great news to see, as this covers all forms of media for these guys. So great to see that coming in.
100%. So pretty straightforward stuff. Tell people who you are. Be candid about what your experience is. Tell people what it is that they're getting into and the massive risk involved, which it is a massive risk. And for everybody out there that's thinking about investing into cask investment, don't do it. Just go and invest into brands. Those are the ones that really matter. So for anybody out there that's got that kind of money, rethink, because there's much better opportunities to support the whiskey industry rather than trying to buy your own barrel and pretend you know what you're doing. So anyway, on that nutshell, let's move forward. Speaking about finding some wow factor things, a perfect example of how value can actually be found within the brands, not just within buying barrels. Double glazed window salesman named Fraser, he's only named Fraser here, managed to pick up just the case belonging to a rare bottle of Macallan, and he picked it up on eBay for 200 quid. And it turned out to be the case which would have previously held one of only 40 bottles of Macallan 1926 60-year-old whiskey with a label designed by Valerio Adami. So this was a pretty nice find on eBay. This was a gentleman that was, loves his whiskey, lives in Speyside, started to collect memorabilia, and is a 50-year-old gentleman that basically found this empty case on eBay down in England and picked it up. It has just been valued to go to auction You want to guess, Mitch, what they're going to sell just for the case, just for the box that this came in?
10 grand.
138,600 quid. That's the figure that's been based on it.
Door.
Yeah. So they've valued that based on 15% of what the last bottle of the 1926 Valerio Adami sold at. And at auction, it sold at £924,000. I would arguably say it's probably moved significantly higher for that specific whiskey. So 130, that means, more importantly, one of two things. Either you own a bottle of this whiskey. So if you've inherited a bottle of whiskey, go home, check your bottles of whiskey at home, see if you happen to have an old Macallan with a 1926 label on it, because one, it's worth a fortune, but two, you may be missing a box. And for £138,600, you could rekindle the relationship between your bottle and your box. And it would add a significant overall value to both of them being collectively together rather than separately sold. So,
I mean, you got to think whoever's like, just they've sculled that bottle and then they've just got rid of the box.
Honestly, probably that was when I first saw it, I was like, who's going to, because you would have had to have separated them, right? So you would have had to have taken the bottle out of there. I'm assuming that at some point this was an inheritance. Maybe somebody cleaned out an old attic space, or somebody was, had to go in and clean out something from a family member and just found an old box and just threw it onto eBay, not really knowing what it was. It just looks like a beautiful glass and kind of copper display case and brass, like a wooden plinth with like the brass and the glass on it. Looks pretty nice. But just that little 1926. Go ahead.
Can you imagine if they just found the box and the bottle and just sculled the liquid and be like, oh, let's just get rid of this box and put it on eBay?
Well, to be fair, yeah, I'm sure whoever sold it for 200 quid is probably kicking themselves as well, just like, God damn.
Yeah, totally. In other news, as of the 1st of November, William Grant & Sons have announced the appointment of a new CEO. So this is big news because Glenn Gordon, family member of William Grant & Sons, is now stepping down. He's going to remain a non-executive director on the board. And Søren Haig is going to take his place as the new CEO. So Søren is coming from Heineken. He heads up the whole European division there. And I mean, interesting one there, right? As in, there's not going to be a family member running William Grant & Sons anymore.
No, not at the helm. I actually think that's probably I want to say it's probably a good thing for their business overall to not have a family member running the show. I think it's, they've got such fabulous worldwide brands, having someone there that knows the scalability, especially coming from Heineken and knowing how to look at that kind of size and scale of a business, which is significantly bigger, I would imagine, than William Grant & Sons. Certainly from a volume standpoint, I think just being able to kind of come in there and kind of guide the business into their next chapter is probably quite smart. But I'm sure, the family are still very much involved, Mitch. You know that yourself. The multiple family members that are still very much involved, sitting in the board and helping guide the business from a 50,000-foot view. So I think it's probably smart that the day-to-day operations and the CEO level sits with somebody who just really wants to grow the business and champion it to the next stage in its chapter. All right, guys. Well, thanks very much for tuning in to this episode of Not Another Whiskey Podcast. As always, it's been a pleasure to have you join us on our whiskey journey. Please make sure you smash that follow button, whatever you listen to us on, if it's, Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this podcast. It's really important to us as a small little podcast to make sure we get as many listeners and track all of that stuff as possible. So it makes a big difference to us. So we do appreciate it.
Talking about getting smashed, mate. Have a good night tonight.
Indeed. 16 whiskeys later, keep your phone on silent.
if there's no more episodes from here on in, you know why. We've lost Nicholas to 16 whiskies.
100%. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll speak to you next time. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.